Hello there, EFD squad, and welcome back to ERU, where you pick our winners and losers from the weekend just passed on the bloody continent. And kicking us off is at Blade Thunderbolt. What a handle. Kudos to you, sir. And he's put Monaco in our winners. Why is that? They're finally in our winners.
Yeah, finally. It's been a long time coming. Great handle and great result for Monaco. Cesc Fabregas scoring his first goal as they ran out 2-1 winners against 14th place Toulouse, giving them their first Ligue 1 win in 7 games. Monaco actually opened the scoring on the 15-minute mark when Alexander Golovin latched onto a Gelson Martins cross after a really swift counter-attack that started on the edge of their own box, scoring just his second goal of the campaign. So after that World Cup campaign, big things were expected of him this season. Hasn't really delivered so far, but his performance in this game was much better. But Monaco couldn't hold on to the lead for long. 5 minutes later, Toulouse equalised through a close-range header from Christophe Julien and a lack of concentration from across the Monaco defence, allowing him to get in, meaning that they still haven't kept a clean sheet since the start of December. So Leo Hardim, it's clear what they need to work on there. Fabregas then sealed the win in the 62nd minute after he smashed home a loose ball. A really nice finish, actually. It wasn't from a long way out, but it was a really tidy finish into the top of the net. After great work again from Gelson Martins on the left, who looks like he's going to be a great addition.
A new man.
Exactly. After a pretty torrid time at Atletico Madrid, came into this game full of confidence and delivered. He completed 3 key passes and 4 dribbles on the day. This win, it doesn't change a whole lot though. It moves them up only 1 place to 18th. And they're level on points with Caen, who sits 17th, but they have a game in hand. Hardim will be delighted with his team's performance, but they've still got a long way to go. As I was saying, they've just got 18 points after 23 games, and this was their first home win of the season.
Wow!
And we're in February.
Oh mon Dieu.
Mental. Part of the problem has been just a string of injuries and a sort of not a clear strategy in players to be used. They've used 31 players in the league this season, and 13 of those have been aged 21 or under. But Hardim still made considerable changes for this game. He sort of reverted back to a 4-2-3-1 and made 4 changes to Henry's last lineup and reinstalled Falcao up front. So all in all, good performance on the night, but still a lot more to come from Monaco.
Yeah, and it's not been that instantaneous turnaround that people were sort of expecting with the former league-winning manager returning to the helm. He actually lost his first match in charge on penalties against Guingamp in the League Cup semi-final. Now, there was a lot of upturning performances this game. Like you said, Golovin, a noticeable improvement with 4 shots and 3 dribbles, the most in the side. Kamil Glik was also back to his defensive best as he prevented Toulouse from having any clear-cut opportunities. The 31-year-old made 3 tackles, 4 interceptions and 4 clearances. Cesc Fabregas, like you've said, as well as that very crisp finish, deserves a special mention for the way he ran the show in the centre of midfield with 69 passes, the most in the Monaco side. He is filling in that João Moutinho-shaped hole. Wow, probably shouldn't have let him go for 5 million.
No, definitely
Probably
not.
regretting that at this point, aren't they, given what they're paying Fabregas. With an 84% pass accuracy, which by Fabregas' standards, maybe a little bit low. Defensively, not really contributing, so 0 tackles or interceptions, which maybe intimates that Hardim wants him in a more advanced position, dictating play from a little bit further up the field.
Which would suit his game well
as
well.
Struggling to stitch together the sort of midfield and attack, aren't they, with the likes of Golovin suffering as a result, but both back to their best in this game. Now, before this game, Monaco had not managed to score more than 1 goal, goes back to what I was just saying, in their last 10 league games. First home victory, not scored more than 1 in 10 league games. This game, a lot more attacking impetus, like we said, and you know, all 17 of the Monaco fans that attended this game must have been absolutely enthralled to watch 13 shots, only 3 coming on target though, so still really lacking decisiveness. They need Radamel Falcao to sort of defy medical science again by getting over that litany of knee injuries and banging once more. Monaco's next game is against 6th place Montpellier, who beat them 2-1 earlier in the season. So if they can get a result there and fellow sort of strugglers Amiens beat Caen, then the stars could align and they could leave the bottom three for the first time in 4 months. All right?
French.
Dernier. Petit dernier. Lunch, isn't it? Breakfast.
Déjeuner.
Dernier is like backwards or something.
Right, we head over to Germany now, where the title race took a few more twists and turns, with Bayern Munich losing, and this comes in from @James Ndarangu 20, something like that.
Good for you.
Thank you very much. Tried my best. Bayern.
I mean, unaffected as well by me just shouting. So
Focus.
professional. Yeah, Bayern's tight hopes suffered a massive blow, didn't they, after Leverkusen beat them comfortably 3-1 on Saturday. The holders are now 7 points behind Borussia Dortmund, who actually failed to capitalise on this situation, drawing with Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, Bayern did actually take the lead in this game in the first half through Leon Goretzka's header. That was his 6th of the season,
Man's on
and
fire.
he has now accumulated his best Bundesliga tally. But the home side responded well in the second half. Leon Bailey equalising with a brilliant 30-yard free kick. Go and watch it. The player been linked with Chelsea in the past, Liverpool, and you can see why. Absolutely dripping in quality here. That was his first goal in 23 games though, so a welcome return back to the goals. Kevin Volland fired in then his 8th of the season, finishing off a lovely team move, and substitute Lucas Alario's tap-in sealed the win. Now, I didn't know much about this guy prior to this match day, but the Argentine has now scored 5 in his last 7 games, and the 26-year-old joined from River Plate in 2017, so a little while back now, for 22 million, and it's now, just now that their record transfer is starting to look like the real deal after a bit of a mediocre first season, I guess. His first goal did come in controversial fashion, though, we do have to state that, after he was initially flagged offside, but the decision correctly overruled by VAR.
It was tight, though.
Team VAR. Give me a V. Hey.
Oh,
Good.
Don't know what that is,
Good,
actually.
yeah.
It's more like an F.
Which way is the beach? Anyway, the defeat ended Bayern's run of 7 consecutive league wins. They dropped down to 3rd in the table. Even after 7 consecutive league wins, that's how fine the margins are at the top of the Bundesliga, and also kind of how intimates, how bad a start they got off to. It was also their 4th defeat of the campaign. That's actually 2 fewer than Spurs.
Okay. Spurs still yet to draw, though.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That is true. Unlike Valencia, who've drawn 1 million games. 1 million games.
It's also like Marcelino.
Anyway, this equals Bayern's total amount of losses from the previous season, so they can't lose any from here on in if they want to retain that title. They'll at least be pleased that Dortmund didn't win, but that is a silver lining, isn't it, for the weekend?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, they played really well in the first half, but the second half they were just cut apart too easily by Bayer Leverkusen. They had 6 shots in target, but only 2 were from inside the box, and they weren't really clinical enough. They only created 1.9 expected goals. I mean, Hardecki, the Leverkusen keeper, did play well on occasion. He made a few nice saves, particularly from Kingsley Coman. And he was called into action 6 times, although Sven Ulrich, his opposite number, only had to make 1 save, which suggests that Bayern might not have been creating the more opportunities, but they were potentially better quality and they were more clinical with them. Bayern's defence did look seriously shaky at times. Their backline completed just 7 tackles throughout. Leverkusen's back four managed 14. The home side also had a decent amount of the ball, 49% possession, so it was a pretty even game. And I was impressed with, although Bayern's first goal was awesome, I thought Hummels did a lovely ball down the line, and then it ends up with Thomas Müller on the right, crossed in for Goretzka. After that moment, it was very much Bayer Leverkusen all the way in that second half. Key performances coming in from their fullbacks Wendel and Weiser, who made 11 tackles between them.
Wendel's been performing really well for some years now, and actually when we highlighted Benny Henrichs as a talent, Wendel on the other flank, I thought deserved maybe a move to a bigger club then. But
yeah, definitely.
Update me on Wendel.
Exactly. Although he did fail to close down Thomas Müller for that opening cross, which was slightly frustrating, but otherwise he made up for it in the rest of his performance. We've got to give a shout out to Julian Brandt though. He ran the show in midfield. 89% pass accuracy, 1 assist, 3 key passes. He's only 22. I wasn't quite aware. I thought he was more 24. 22, he's having another strong season. 2 goals, 4 assists, 2.5 key passes per 90, the highest in the side. He really is Bayer Leverkusen's key man, because Leon Bailey's form has been quite patchy compared to his last year. Leverkusen, though, now move up to 7th in the table and face a tricky tie against Mainz on Friday. Bayern, in contrast, will hope to get back to winning ways against Schalke next weekend, who haven't been in great form either. Although this was a surprise result because Bayern had been crushing it until this. I think they beat Stuttgart quite comfortably last weekend. This was a bit of a shock. So Kovac will be desperate to get it going again against Schalke. Bayern fans, are you worried or was this just an aberration? Let us know in the comments down below.
Lovely word.
Aberration.
Do you know who our next session comes from, mate? Rockstar Azar 22. The handle's just flying in today. I was going to swear I was that excited, but I stopped myself. And he actually put Juventus down as a loser, and seeing Juventus in our losers section would have been scenes. But we put Parma in there because we like to champion the underdog on Euro Football Daily. Why was that? This was a fun game. Who did the damage? Break it down.
It was a very fun game. A great comeback from Parma. They scalped a point at champions Juventus away from home, coming from 3-1 down to 3-3, moving 5 points clear of 13th place Genoa. Parma, weirdly, had this thing against Juventus this season. They've now scored 4 goals against them, accounting for 17% of their entire league total of 24, which is 3 less than 17th place Empoli. Conversely, Juventus have only conceded 15, meaning Parma are responsible for over 25% of the league goals they've conceded. Talk about a bogey team.
That.
And who did the damage? You better believe it. It was Gervinho. He got his 7th and 8th league goals in just 14 starts. He's now the club's joint top goal scorer with 27-year-old Roberto Inglese, who also played really well in this game. But Inglese has played 300 more minutes, so Gervinho being clinical. This now means he has doubled his league haul in Italy in 18-19 than he did in China in 2 seasons. So coming back into Europe's top 5 leagues, really starting to deliver with that enormous forehead of his. His XG, though, suggests that he's running a little hot. But he also could have a couple of assists. I don't know why I'm talking about big foreheads, actually.
Look at the size of ours, mate.
To be fair,
that's 5 heads all round.
We're definitely packing a lot of forehead on this. Yeah, a lot of forehead round here. Anyway, not surprising given that his 1.8 shots per game are normally from really good positions. Only 6 of his 24 attempts this season have been from outside the box. And considering this is a free transfer, Parma fans can be very happy with his output.
Massive.
And it was another Serie A outcast that supplied both assists, ex-AC Milan and Genoa central midfielder Juraj Kutka, who's 31, who joined Parma in January following an underwhelming spell in Turkey, getting 2 assists on the day. So 2 unheralded players doing the business. The Slovakian international's 2 assists means that he's now having his 4th most productive season supply-wise, and we've still got a fair few months to go. So really promising for Parma, but what is it like from a Juventus perspective?
Parma just teaching old dogs new tricks.
Indeed.
What a couple of free transfers. I actually think by fortune, where Gervinho was before, released him on a free, agreed to terminate his contract. That's how poor he was faring. I think he went 7 games without a goal at the start of the most recent campaign. And when Chris Coleman came in, he was like, no, Gervinho, not for me. Not for me in the Chinese Super League. And now look at him.
Coleman ended up over?
Yeah, Chris. Have some of that, drink it in, Gervinho's vintage form. And talking of vintage, Ronaldo, who turns 34 today, I believe.
Birthday.
Now has 19 goals for the campaign after a brace in this game, 17 of those coming in Serie A. Now, the last Juve player to score as many goals after just 22 match weeks was David Trezeguet in 2005-06, and I think he finished the campaign on 22 goals.
Okay.
So
I think that might have been the year that they got messed over with the Calciopoli.
No, year after.
Oh, was that year after?
Year after that happened, the old Calciopoli. Anyway, but Juventus are struggling on the defensive end with injuries, which explains why they've shipped so many goals recently. Bonucci and Chiellini both out and have missed a combined 5 games. Juan Cuadrado has also been out since December following a knee injury. Juve have now conceded 6 goals pretty much as a direct result in the last 2 games following that, including that, 3-0 drubbing by Atalanta in the Coppa Italia. That's the equivalent of their previous 9 games in all competitions.
Wow.
So
the second string defence not really doing the job even.
Rugani stepped in here and he scored and he was okay, but it's hard to tell really without watching the full 90. I mean, Cáceres looked okay in patches. He's returned to the club for a second or third time on a 5-month loan spell.
I think they also played Spinoza at left back as well.
And obviously Szczesny wasn't in goal for this either. So who they bought from a middling sort of club, but there was a few teams in for him. Napoli in for him. So yeah, a bit of a second string look to that defensive line anyway. But back to the game in hand, because on the attacking end, Ronaldo couldn't really have done much more in this game. 2 goals, 1 assist, 10 shots.
Just a little 10.
4 on target, 2 were blocked for the remaining coming off target. 6 key passes as well. He really should have had more than 1 assist in this game, laying on Khedira for some gilt-edged chances, and Khedira hit the bar and the post, I believe, hit the woodwork twice in this game. Ronaldo also completed 3 dribbles. So these were the sort of numbers that Ronaldo used to produce when he was sort of a menacing left winger come striker for Real Madrid in like circa 2012. So
he chipped up a lovely ball for a Khedira header as well. He was really at it. And Dybala was on the bench, which I was kind of baffled by.
Yeah. And some of his long-range raspers as well that didn't register on target were very close. Were really very close. He had a left-footed shot at the very end, and I was just like, how has he generated that much power with his sort of weaker foot? But crazy.
And standing start as well, mental.
And it did look when he scored the game's 4th goal that it was game over for Parma. They had only just replied, and it was sort of an instantaneous reply yet again by Juventus, really sort of end-to-end stuff. Mandzukic's 4th assist of the season, providing Ronaldo with his latter goal. Before Gervinho stole the show, let's say. He stole in on 74 and at the very death, following some odd defensive work from both Cáceres, who saw out the danger initially quite well, and then played it down the line for Mandzukic, who was like, okay, what the do I do with it now? And then Mandzukic, took it to the corner.
He tried to chip it back in.
To play it across his own penalty box. So Mandzukic...
It's the first rule of defending.
We know he's a defensive left winger in Allegri's system, but Allegri will be absolutely spitting with that. Juventus only had 7 shots on target in this game as a team, indicating the importance of Ronaldo in that regard. So narrowly edging Parma's 5. Like I said, Khedira passing up some gilt-edged chances as well. His defensive work not fantastic in this game. Lost for both the goals, actually. It could be argued that he should have been filling in that space, not tracking his runner. XG though had this down as 2 to 1.4. So you can't really begrudge Parma a point. And you know what? I think this might be the first time the Phoenix Club, I say Phoenix Club, I think they've reformed like 3 times, have made it into our winners on Euro Roundup, and bloody well done.
Right, staying in Serie A now, we're going to cover Sampdoria, and this came in from @Julian, then a series of numbers.
King Julian. Yeah, Sampdoria soundly beaten 3-0 away from home by the Portnope Napoli, meaning that Quagliarella's attempt to secure a 12th Serie A match goal in a row came to an end. It was at his hometown club. It almost felt predestined, but it didn't really happen because football can be a bloody cruel game, Doogie. Goals from Milik and Insigne just 70 seconds later. That was his first in all competitions since November, before a Simon Verdi penalty wrapped proceedings up. Simon Verdi contributed to a lot of goals last campaign, off to a bit of a slow start along with Fabian Ruiz, although I think Ruiz has come to prominence in recent weeks. So he'll be happy to be back on the score sheet. Bit of a dead ball specialist as well. Quite a handy free kick on him. But Samp boss Marco Giampaolo will feel a little bit aggrieved in the manner that they conceded that penalty, because Zielinski, who we know has gone absolute cannon on him, shot it into Joachim Andersen from a matter of yards. I'm talking yards.
And the referee, as well.
The referee gave handball. Yeah, it was pretty cruel, wasn't it, at that point in the game? The manager will also be concerned with Samp's recent run of form. They went unbeaten in 6 games between November 25th and December 26th, making our winners quite a few times, winning 4, drawing 2 games as well, climbing to 5th. But just 1 win in their last 4 games, along with 7 goals conceded, has seen them drop a position, and a free fall could be imminent here, because expected goals suggest they're lucky to even be where they are. The metrics suggest they should have scored 10 fewer goals and conceded 4 more. So what is going on at Samp? Are you scoring a lot of free kicks, penalties, long-range bangers? Is there a long-range specialist in your side? Samp fans, let us know in the comments below. Now, what I've just said, that scenario dictated by expected goals would put you at 12th, just 7 points clear of relegation. So,
big drop-off.
Fine margins there in the middle of Serie A, and they were outplayed in this game with XG having it at 1.9 to 0.6, so Napoli deserving their victory with or without suspect penalties.
Yeah, definitely, and Ancelotti will be absolutely delighted to get back to winning ways. They obviously drew 0-0 with Milan last week in the league, and then exited the Coppa Italia 3 days later to the same opponents to that Pientek double. Although the gap, despite Juve dropping points, is still 9 points. So it's a long way back from there, probably not going to happen though. But, you know, one thing that's certainly making it possible, if unlikely, is their imperious home form. They've not lost a single one of their 16 games at the Stadio San Paolo in all competitions this season. That's League and Champions League, with only Roma and Chievo taking points off them domestically. And in this game, they managed to limit Sampdoria, who are averaging 4.4 shots on target per game in 18-19, to just 2 from 14 efforts, compared to 9 from their 21. So they're very much in top in this game. Key performers Insigne, I was kind of baffled when I was writing this section and then to hear they hadn't scored since November.
Yeah.
Back to goal scoring form in this game. He also had a good all-round performance, 88% pass accuracy, 2 key passes, 1 dribble, 6 shots, 3 on target, and obviously that goal. Koulibaly was great and he was popping up everywhere. You saw him down the wing at stages, he got into the box and had a few shots as well. He had a 94% pass accuracy, 3 tackles, 2 aerial duels, and completed 2 dribbles to boot. Man of the match was definitely captain on the night, Callahan. I don't know why he was captain.
Callahan was captain?
I don't know why he was captain.
Maybe
Insigne then went off, actually.
Emblematic about the game, or I don't know, was it?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either, but yeah, it's normally Insigne, so I'm slightly baffled by that, or Hamsik. But Hamsik might be going to China, I saw this morning.
Yeah, he's not really playing as much this campaign, is he? And like I said, kind of Fabian Ruiz really becoming that driving force in midfield.
But it'll still be a big loss. But, you know, he's their record appearance maker and top goal scorer, so you know you're losing a wealth of experience if he heads off to China. I think it'd be a real shame. But anyway, back to Callahan. He was playing on the right-hand side of a 4-4-2. He had a 90% pass accuracy, 4 tackles and interceptions from a right winger, 2 aerial duels, 1 shot and 4 key passes. Up next for the Neapolitans is a game against Fiorentina, who failed to back up their 7-1 thrashing of Roma in the Cup last week, only drawing 1-1 against Udinese this weekend. So yeah, onwards and upwards for Napoli. Still 9 points to go, but another good performance here. Napoli fans, how happy are you? And do you think you've got any hope of clawing this back? Let us know in the comments below.
Time for our Star of the Week then. And this week it's one of your favourites, Doug. It's Nicolas Pepe. And was this even suggested by anyone, you fraud? Because there's no handle there. You just love the guy.
That's my mistake. I would have suggested it myself, but there was definitely a few of you suggesting it on Twitter too. So thank you very much to you guys. But yeah, big fan of Nicolas Pepe, 23 years old, continued his stellar season with a virtuoso display in their 4-0 victory over Nice, a goal and an assist. The goal was a thing of beauty. He picked up the ball just inside his own box, ran 50 yards or so, bent it into the bottom left-hand corner.
As you do.
Absolutely beautiful. He had a great all-round 90 as well. 1 tackle, 4 dribbles, 2 more than anyone else on the pitch, 3 key passes, 3 shots, 1 goal, 1 assist. Takes his tally to 16 league goals and 8 assists in 23 Ligue 1 games this season. He's averaging a goal contribution every 86 minutes so far. This guy is on fire. He's played a direct role in 60% of Lille's league goals, and only Mbappe with 18 has scored more goals in France. And it's not like he's just a one-season wonder. In 17-18, he got 13 goals and 4 assists. So 2 really good, solid back-to-back years. I would be flabbergasted if he didn't get a move this summer.
Yeah, I mean, he's come out and said as much, hasn't he? We covered this on previous episodes where we've actually covered, is it Lille that he plays for? Yeah, I think it might have been on Continental Club as well, that he was looking forward towards a beautiful transfer emerging this summer. I don't know if that was a poor translation or if he's just a poetic guy. But moving on to his victims, Nice. Vieira might be worried and a little bit baffled at the same time by his side's performance. So they went into the game having not lost in the league since the 22nd of December, not getting off to the greatest of starts, so sort of recovering the situation as they approach the middle third of the season, playing 4, winning 2, drawing 2, but they were comprehensively outplayed here. His side managed to get 5 efforts on goal compared to Lille's 15, and XG had the game at 2.4 to 0.4 in Lille's favour, so good for their convincing victory. Their 2 strikers, Saint-Maximin and Ganago, managed just 1 shot between them, but onwards and upwards for Lille and Pepe. They've now won 4 league games, scoring 11 in that time, so good for their spot, chasing down PSG at the summit of League. And Pepe, like we said, with these sort of numbers, should be a shoo-in for a big summer move. If your club needs wide talent, you know, maybe if you're a Chelsea and you see Willian and Pedro aging out, he might be an interesting proposition. Maybe if you're Liverpool and you sign anyone and everyone that's any good across the continent, you sign him as a backup to Mo Salah. I'm not sure he'll be happy playing second fiddle though, will he, after those 2 seasons. Averaging 3.4 shots across the course of this season, 1.8 key passes and 4.5 dribbles per 90. Now, only Sofiane Boufal with 6.8, Adama Traore on 6.3, Ben Arfa on 5.3, and Kingsley Coman with Neymar to boot averaging more in Europe. And that's players who have played over 500 minutes. That's dribbles, just to reaffirm. CIES, who are a little less conservative than Transfermarkt with their valuations of players, have his value rising over 40 million now to 50.7 million. So that's a 10 million increase since they last revisited his stock. So I can only see it climbing, especially if Lille finish second, and with the likes of Marseille. I mean, Lyon obviously beat PSG, but with the likes of Marseille in sort of not free fall, but underwhelming massively, Lille could really finish the season strongly, couldn't they, 100%. In the ascendancy. So where do you see Pepe going? Maybe it is to Bayern. They need wide talent. Maybe he profiles like a Dortmund player. Ooh, who knows? Arsenal, yeah, French, cheap. Not cheap anymore, so that's that for this week's European Roundup. If you haven't watched Winners and Losers yet on Football Daily, please go and do so. Me and Michael McCovin cover the there we go. The ups and downs of the Premier League. What else is live on Football Daily, Euro Football Daily and FDFC right now, dude?
Well, you should stay on Euro Football Daily actually and go and watch all the Stat Wars, the leagues. There's been some shocks already. The league is hotting up. Go over to FDFC. Sevens continues. Squad Goals gets better and better. We've got so much great content for you across our 3 channels at the moment. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to all of the channels.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Otherwise, all that work for nothing.
Nothing.